How does Michigan beat Alabama? It's going to be a great game, one that features two teams that are playing at the top of their game right now. You feature Jim Harbaugh versus Nick Saban, and Michigan is definitely a team that's been humming along for a while now. Now, this is a team that hasn't had too many issues in the regular season. It's a team that won the Big Ten championship, hasn't really faced a ton of resistance outside of Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. So this will be an interesting test for Michigan. How do they get the job done? I think the simple answer has to be keep doing what you're doing. And what do we mean by that? This has been a team that has been really good running the football and has been really good on defense. And that's been kind of their formula they've used, and they have used it to success all the way to a 13-0 finish to their regular season here with a Big Ten championship. This is a team that is very good, very physical, but they haven't really faced a ton of elite competition. So I think the biggest concern right now is how do they handle Alabama? And then you have to look at the Penn State and Ohio State games. You have to look at these are two teams that have featured multiple NFL draft picks. You have a number of talented all Big Ten very good college football players on the defensive side of the ball at Penn State and Ohio State. Michigan has used a great game plan for both. Essentially, they were out physically Penn State. They were being the more dominant team, and they took care of business. They definitely knew what they were doing, and they let their guys up front do most of the work. Now, that might be a little bit of concern. There's some injury concerns up front. Obviously, you lose Zach Zinter, that hurts. But I think that you're going to have to find a way to get healthy up front, which you have a month to do. And you have to find a way to handle what Alabama will bring because Alabama has a front seven that arguably is better than anything Michigan has faced this year. So being physical still is a key, but you might have to step your game up even more. And when you look at what Michigan's done very well, it's been running the football. That being said, throwing the ball is going to be important. And it's going to be hard because you have to face a front seven of Alabama that's so good, but you also have a secondary at Alabama. You have guys like Caleb Downs, you have Cooley McKinstry, Terry Arnold. Your wide receivers must step up. That's probably the biggest thing to me. And also, JJ McCarthy needs to be a big time player in a Big Ten game. One of the biggest concerns I've had this year is what does Michigan do when they face bigger competition? Now they've faced two good teams in Penn State and Ohio State, and they figured out how to win. It were close wins, but they figured it out. There's been kind of this theme that no one's really saying, but kind of hinting at is that Michigan is just going to turn it on when they need to. And I don't necessarily love that idea of like we're just going to wait until we need to turn it on because how much experience do you have in big games? How much experience do you have and in those moments? And so far, we've seen a couple of good games. Oh, can they do that on a championship level? Can they do it on a playoff level? That's going to be the biggest question for me. JJ McCarthy has shown flashes of really good play. You look at the Ohio State game, I thought he played really well. I thought that was a very good performance for him. And I don't know how much the wide receivers will help him. So I'm very curious how a guy like Colston Loveland will help out up the seam going against Alabama's linebackers. Are they going to be able to cover him? It's something that they exploited in the Ohio State game. They definitely carved up the middle of the field with Loveland, and Loveland's turned into a reliable pass catcher. He's been good for Michigan, and he has been great for McCarthy when he's needed him. And McCarthy is going to be the X factor in this game. Everyone knows that Blake Corum is really good running the football. They know this offensive line is good. Everyone knows Michigan wants to run the ball, including Alabama. You have to either find a way to be more physical, even when teams expect you to run the football, or JJ McCarthy needs to have a big game. And when you look at the TCU game last year, he had some struggles, which, and I'm not going to say cost them a game because they gave up a lot of points too. But if you don't throw that pick six or at two pick sixes, then you're looking at a much different game. You're looking at a championship game appearance, and a lot of that falls on JJ McCarthy's shoulders. So I think a lot of this pressure is on JJ McCarthy. A lot of this game will rest on his shoulders. Yes, it's team effort, and obviously there are more things that go into it. But if Michigan wants to win and beat Alabama, they are going to have a complete effort on the offensive side of the ball. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the biggest key is Jalen Milroe. Because when you look at Alabama, they've been a fun story towards the end of the year. They found a way to beat Georgia. Obviously, you tip your cap to them. But they have not faced arguably a defense like Michigan's. And that's saying something when you come from the SEC. Georgia's defense wasn't what we thought it was going to be this year. It wasn't what we saw from the last 2 years from that team. Alabama has not faced a defense. Maybe you could argue Texas is on that level, but I think Michigan is a level ahead of a lot of people. Jalen Milroe is the key. This defense has to find a way to slow him down. They have to find a way to keep him in check. Now, I don't know if I recommend doing what Georgia did, which is having two spies. That seems like a little bit excessive. But at the same time, I think that you have to do something to keep him in check. He's such a dynamic player. He's such an explosive weapon with the ball in his hands, and he is going to test this defense. The nice thing for Michigan is they have the players to compete. They have the players that will test Jalen Milroe. Milroe likes to throw a deep ball. When you have a guy like Will Johnson, when you have a guy like Mike Samerstill in that secondary, you are going to be successful. You are going to get a number of plays because those guys have been doing it all year. Will Johnson is one of the best corners in college football. Mike Samerstill has had an incredible year, made the transition from wide receiver to corner a couple years ago, and all he's done is develop well into his role. He's gone from the slot to the outside. He has just given Michigan so many good things, and I think that that is another big key because Alabama has a number of receivers that will be difficult to guard. Jermaine Burton's going to be tough. Isaiah Bond has been really good in the last few games, so they're going to have their hands full. But Michigan is so good on defense. The biggest reason they win this game is if they keep that Alabama offense in check. Now, stopping Jalen Milroe, it's pretty easy to stop him in a way. If you're able to let him try and throw all over the field, your defense is good enough to not only contain him, but also bait him into some mistakes. That's the key. But if you're not careful and if you take him lightly, he's going to carve you up with both his arm and his legs. And his running ability is a nightmare. You have to have someone athletic enough to spy on him, to cover him downfield. And I think Michigan has a number of talented players. I also really trust their front seven to get the job done up front. And to me, that's a big difference. If you're able to get to the quarterback and basically collapse the pocket, Jalen Milroe is not going to have anywhere to run if he doesn't have a pocket to sit in. Yes, he likes to escape, but if you're able to get to him quickly, then you are going to be in business. You are going to have a successful night and you will be playing for a national championship. And again, a lot of this stuff relies on a couple players. This is really JJ McCarthy's time to shine. And I'm going to put a lot of pressure on him because I think that he can have a better game. And I am sorry, but I just don't buy the concept that this team is one that can just turn the switch on and off, especially offensively. Defensively, I can hear that argument. But to me, JJ McCarthy needs to be a reason that Michigan wins this game. He needs to be a factor. He needs to make big time throws. And it's going to be tough. Alabama is very aggressive defensively. They have a really good defense. You're running the football will be a struggle. You are going to have to open up the field. You are going to have to remove defenders from the box by throwing the ball. And a lot of that lies on JJ McCarthy's shoulders. And for good reason. I think he's ready for it. He seemed very poised, very calm when he is in the big moments. It's just we need to see it more often. And this is a great opportunity for him to show that because if he's able to carve up that defense, if he can find Colston Loveland, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, this game is going to be over in a heartbeat. Michigan is so good this year, and they have shown that they can pull away from teams. But if they are struggling to throw the football, that's where things get really interesting. Blake Corum, it's hard to believe that we've gone this long without talking about him more in detail. Blake Corum is one of my favorite running backs in college football. A compact runner, almost kind of like the human version of a Wolverine. He's just small and super powerful. He had a record-breaking season. He's a reliable playmaker. When you need a play, especially in the clutch, it feels like Blake Corum is that guy making that run. And you have a year in which he's rushed for 24 touchdowns. He knows how to get in the end zone. And with the offensive line that he's had up front, I think you're in good position to put up points on this Alabama defense as long as you can be physical and move the ball on the ground. Defensively, Mike Samerstill has been, like I said, the really exciting player. That defense has needed a couple guys to step up, and Samerstill is one of them. 5 interceptions on the year. He is a proven playmaker that a lot of teams still like to test. You're gonna have to go against Will Johnson or Mike Sainristil. A lot of people avoid the first because they think they can have success on Mike Sainristil, but you just simply can't. He has shown that he is a proven playmaker. He's a reliable guy, and he will be a reason if Michigan is to win this game, it's going to be because certain X factors like a Mike Sainristil step up. Picking this game would be a tough one because when you're looking at what Michigan and Alabama do, they're both really exciting. They both have really good defenses and they both have exciting players on offense. If Michigan is going to win the game, again, it comes down to a couple of key X factors. It comes down to them throwing the football and it comes down to their defense containing Jalen Milroe. I don't recommend doing a double spy like Georgia did. Doesn't seem to really work. I think that if you're going to do it, put one spy on him and rely on your pressure. Michigan has gotten pressure all year on the teams they face. And if they do it again, I think that they'll be just fine.